Chosen one, you are standing before a great turning point, where the years of silent endurance will no longer be viewed as evidence of failure, but will become the foundation for the restoration gradually opening before you. You did not stop at these words because of a meaningless coincidence. Amid the countless sounds competing for your attention, a gentle prompting held you here, because I want you to hear clearly. What exhaustion once left you too weary to believe? Your story will not end in lack, pain, or delay. What you see now is only the final portion of an old season, losing its authority, not the complete picture of the road ahead. I have watched every one of your steps, including those slow steps you believed were taking you nowhere. I saw the days when you continued, even though you no longer felt strong, the nights when you lay still in darkness, and wondered whether you possessed enough strength to rise one more time. Today, I have come to remind you that such perseverance was not forgotten. It is becoming the bridge carrying you out of the place that once imprisoned you. Every door that closed and caused you pain carried a lesson you could not understand when it first happened. There were things you called losses that actually prevented you from giving precious years to a place incapable of supporting your future. There were people whose departure made you believe that you lacked worth. Yet, their leaving exposed connections that survived only while you continually sacrificed your peace to preserve them. Certain plans were delayed, not because you were incapable, but because the version of you who existed then could still be controlled by recognition, money, or the outward appearance of success. I needed to strengthen what was within you before placing greater weight into your hands. If the gift had arrived while you were still trying to prove your worth to everyone, the gift itself might have become another chain. Therefore, waiting was not a sentence. It was the place where I taught you to recognize who you are without applause, immediate results, or anyone standing beside you to assure you that you were moving in the right direction. I know you have grown tired of hearing that everything has its appointed time. You waited so long that promises about the future sometimes ceased to comfort you, and instead reminded you more sharply of everything that had not happened. You wondered whether you had been left behind, whether others were favored more than you, or whether you had made some mistake that prevented goodness from finding you. But, my beloved child, do not measure your journey by the speed of another person's path. Some receive quickly because what they carry does not require the same process, while what is intended for you demands depth, discernment, and the ability to manage what can be developed only through seasons of refinement. I did not slow you down to humiliate you. I protected you from haste, so that when expansion comes, you will not lose humility, forget the days of scarcity, or use new authority to wound those who are more vulnerable. The transition now occurring does not begin in your account, position, or anything that may draw the attention of the world. It begins with the way you see yourself. You once believed that you were someone who always had to struggle, always prepare for the worst, and always rescue yourself. But I am leading you out of that state of survival. You cannot enter a season of peace while continuing to live, as though disaster is standing immediately behind the door. You cannot receive abundance with hands continually clenched in fear of losing it. Therefore, I am teaching you to release your grip, not so that you will become careless, but so that the past will no longer control every reaction in the present. I am soothing the places that remain tense, correcting thoughts that continually predict failure, and helping you recognize that genuine safety does not come from controlling everything. You still remember what happened. And I am not asking you to pretend that you were never wounded. Your body may still respond when circumstances resemble the past. Your mind may still repeat the rejection, betrayal, or moments when you felt completely powerless. But memory is no longer the same as authority. Something can still be remembered without continuing to control you. This is also victory. Victory does not always arrive through one great event that causes everyone to recognize that you have overcome. Sometimes it appears on an ordinary morning when you remember what happened but no longer collapse. Sometimes it comes when you hear a provocative word but no longer desire to prove yourself. Sometimes it is simply your calm departure from a place that once pulled you back into a cycle of pain. Do not disregard these changes, because they are evidence that what once held you is gradually losing its dominion. The resources you need are also being arranged in ways you may not yet recognize. Yet, do not limit provision to an unexpected amount of money or a dazzling opportunity. At times, what I send is a timely idea, an experienced person willing to guide you, or the courage to leave work that is consuming you. Sometimes the resource is improved stewardship, enabling you to preserve what once slipped through your hands. Sometimes a new door does not appear as a complete gift, but as a small responsibility requiring faithfulness before greater expansion can come. Pay attention to humble opportunities. Do not despise a small beginning merely because you are hoping for a dramatic change. A tall tree does not appear in one night, yet each day its roots continue descending in a place no one can see. I also want you to be cautious of promises that make you passive. Breakthrough does not mean that you sit and wait for everything to fall into your hands. I am opening the way, but you must walk. I am giving clarity, but you must make the decision. If a habit continually leads you back into lack, change it. If you have been postponing work that must be completed, begin with the smallest part. If you need to learn how to use money, time, or your abilities more wisely, humbly receive instruction. Great things do not require only a person of faith. They require someone with discipline, responsibility, and faithfulness. I do not want you elevated for one moment, only to fall again because the foundation was not strong enough. I want what is good in your life to remain, grow, and become a source of support for many others. My beloved child, the battle is no longer permitted to define you. You are not what happened to you, the judgments others placed upon you, or the total of the opportunities you lost. You are the person who moved through what was believed capable of erasing you and still preserved the ability to love, hope, and continue building. This is a victory no one can take from you. The storms changed you, but they could not remove the purity I preserved within. They taught you discernment, but they are not permitted to turn you into someone suspicious of everyone. They made you cautious, but they cannot force you to remain closed forever. Now you must use the wisdom you possess to enter what is new without carrying the fear of the former season. There will be people who are surprised when they see you rise in a calmer and more steadfast way. They became accustomed to the version of you who always explained, asked permission, or diminished yourself so that no one would feel uncomfortable. When you establish boundaries, they may say that you have changed. When you manage your resources more carefully, some may call you selfish. When you refuse to return to a place that wounded you, they may attempt to awaken guilt within you. but do not betray your growth because of their discomfort. Favor does not merely open doors, it also requires you to possess enough courage to close the entrances that once depleted your life. Not everyone who knew you during your season of pain has the right to accompany you into your season of restoration. Therefore, receive these words not through temporary excitement, but through a calm faith. You do not need to run around searching for signs or force life to change according to your schedule. Continue doing the right thing immediately before you. Care for your life, keep your word, fulfill your responsibilities, and nourish what is pure. When an opportunity appears, examine it through peace and wisdom rather than outward brilliance alone. When resources are given, manage them with gratitude. When the right person approaches, observe consistency instead of merely listening to promises. Your new season does not need haste. It needs someone who has learned how to stand firmly. My child, everything is not complete in the sense that you no longer have anything to do, but the authority of the old season over you is reaching its end. What once caused you to bow your head can no longer determine your direction. You survived, but I do not want you to stop at survival. I am teaching you how to live openly, wisely, and purposefully. Rise without pride, move forward without fear, and receive without forgetting responsibility. What is opening will not only change what you possess. It will reveal who you became throughout the seasons that appeared to contain only loss. Your perseverance spoke on your behalf during the days when you had no words left, and now that same perseverance will become the foundation for the restoration, peace, and provision you have become mature enough to preserve. Remember the mornings when your eyes were still heavy, yet you raised yourself from bed, because the days when you believed you were merely trying to survive became evidence that you were preserved by a strength greater than your natural ability. I saw you rise when no excitement remained within you. Complete your responsibilities when your mind wanted to surrender, and keep promises when no one stood beside you to offer encouragement. I was also there during the nights when despair spoke loudly, when every beautiful possibility appeared hidden, and you had to fight merely to believe that tomorrow was still worth awaiting. You believed you remained standing, only because you had no other choice. But I want you to look more deeply. That perseverance was not merely a habit of enduring. It was the mark of quiet preservation, lifting you through every dark place and refusing to allow the weight of one temporary season to crush the goodness still being formed within you. Not one tear fell without meaning, and not one silent prayer was forgotten merely because you did not see an immediate answer. There were moments when you sat in a familiar room and felt completely invisible, as though no one understood how much effort it required for you to keep everything from collapsing. Yet, I saw every time you swallowed your tears and continued. Every time you chose silence, instead of speaking something that could wound another person. And every time you remained open, even though you possessed enough reason to become cold. Those moments were not buried in the past. They are combining into the maturity, depth, and endurance you will need in the new season. What you called years of delay, I used as a period of preparation. What you believed was silence, I used to purify the voice within you and help you distinguish what came from fear from what arose through genuine peace. Now the fears that once tightened themselves around you are gradually losing control. They may still attempt to speak, but you no longer have to obey them. The pressure that once made you live as though everything were an emergency, will no longer govern your breathing, decisions, or view of the future. A quiet stability is entering places once filled with confusion, not loudly, but deeply enough to transform the way you respond. You will notice that you no longer panic immediately before unclear news, nor imagine the worst outcome whenever something unexpected occurs. You will learn how to pause, breathe slowly, and examine the matter with clarity. This is evidence that you are leaving the state of mere survival and beginning to live through trust, where each day is no longer a battle to keep yourself from collapsing. I am bringing you into a season when your worth will no longer be hidden beneath what you had to endure. Some people saw only your silence and did not know how many times you had lifted yourself again behind it. Some believed that your life was ordinary because you did not tell them about every battle you passed through. But you no longer need to prove strength by continuing to live in pain. The recognition you are entering will not necessarily begin with loud praise. It may arrive through a door that finally opens. Someone recognizing what you built quietly, an opportunity appearing at the proper moment, or resources arriving when you no longer possess enough strength to manage everything alone. These things will not be rewards because you suffered enough, but signs that the season of preparation is beginning to become a season of fruitfulness. What was delayed is beginning to move again, but do not allow expectation to make you hasty. When a door opens, walk through with discernment rather than the fear of missing out. When an offer appears, examine its peace, consistency, and lasting fruit. Not everything that comes quickly belongs to you, but what is genuinely suitable will not require you to betray your dignity. Ignore clear warnings or return to a former version of yourself. I am opening paths you could not open by yourself, while also having taught you deeply enough that you no longer enter every place simply because it appears bright. Genuine favor does not merely give you opportunities. It also grants the wisdom to recognize which opportunities should be received and which must remain behind. You may notice the first changes appearing in very small forms. One morning you awaken and feel lighter. A matter that once kept you awake no longer possesses enough power to destroy your peace. Someone who could easily manipulate your emotions can no longer pull you into the familiar argument. A task you repeatedly postponed suddenly feels possible to begin. Do not disregard these signs merely because they do not yet resemble a life-changing miracle. Every lasting breakthrough begins with the removal of former authority. When fear no longer determines your direction, you have already crossed a boundary. When you can say no without suffering guilt. For several days, a door of freedom has opened. When you stop begging for affirmation from someone who never recognized your value, your inward reality has changed before the outward circumstances have had time to reflect it. Remember the nights when exhaustion seemed greater than what you could endure, when the expectations of others weighed heavily upon your shoulders, and you did not know how much longer you could continue. You moved through them. It was not always beautiful or filled with confidence, but you did not allow darkness to make the final decision. You may have crawled through certain days instead of walking strongly, but moving forward in weakness was still movement. I do not despise small steps. They formed within you the ability to remain steadfast without requiring everything to be perfect. They taught you that strength is not the absence of weariness, but knowing when to rest, when to seek help, and when to refuse another burden that does not belong to you, the battle that once convinced you. Life was nothing more than an endless series of defenses, is losing its influence. You do not need to continue carrying the identity of someone who is always under siege. What you experienced is part of your story, but it is not your entire name. You are not merely a survivor. You are someone who learned discernment, matured, and rebuilt from what once fell apart. Your endurance is not permission for others to continue placing burdens upon you. It is evidence that you possess enough depth to manage the goodness that will be entrusted to you without allowing it to make you proud or lead you astray. You understand lack and will therefore value sufficiency. You know what it is like to receive no support, and will therefore know how to support others without controlling them. You recognize the value of peace because you lived too long within confusion. Therefore, prepare not only through expectation, but also through order. Complete what you are able to complete. Care for your health, preserve clarity within your mind, and rearrange the places you neglected because you were too weary. When new resources arrive, you must possess the wisdom to manage them. When opportunity opens, you must remain focused enough to recognize the first step. When new people enter your life, you must preserve boundaries so that former patterns are not repeated. Breakthrough is not merely receiving what you requested. It is becoming someone capable of preserving, developing, and using it according to its purpose. I am not leading you out of a difficult season so that you can rebuild the same system that exhausted you. I am teaching you a new way of living, where success does not require the sacrifice of peace, and abundance does not make you forget humility. My beloved child, what is beginning does not require your panic in order to be completed. Release the need to control every detail and stop digging up the seed continually to check whether it has begun to grow. Remain faithful to the step immediately before you, because great movements are often sustained through small daily choices. Sleep when you need rest, speak truth when you need to speak. Leave when a place continually destroys your peace, and open your heart when goodness approaches. With clarity, you have crossed the boundary of merely existing. Now you are learning how to receive, build, and bloom. Transformation is no longer only a distant promise. It has begun in the way you think, in the peace returning to you, and in the new authority you possess over what once ruled you. Continue with gratitude, because your story will not end with what you endured. What is opening will reveal that every season in which you believed you were forgotten was quietly preparing you to remain steadfast within the very goodness toward which I am leading you. My beloved child, the past months have left enough evidence for you to recognize that you no longer respond to adversity as you once did. Remember the days when everything seemed to change direction at once, when a plan upon which you placed great hope could no longer continue, when a door that appeared almost open suddenly closed without explanation, or when the attitude of someone familiar unexpectedly became cold and caused you to wonder what you had done wrong. Perhaps you heard that your words had been distorted in a place where you were not present, or discovered that someone you trusted had quietly spoken about you unfairly. These matters were not as small as outsiders believed. They once possessed the ability to pull you back into former spirals, make you question your worth, cause you to think endlessly about what could not be changed, and steal many days while you searched for an explanation. But this time, something different happened. You felt pain, but you did not remain submerged. You were disappointed, but you did not allow disappointment to rewrite your identity. You may have been shaken, but you found your direction more quickly. This is evidence that the work I am accomplishing within you is becoming living strength. I am not saying that you have become unfeeling, nor do I believe maturity means you no longer grieve when betrayed or become weary when many things fall upon you at once. A heart capable of loving can still be wounded, and a sincere person still feels heaviness when sincerity is not returned. The difference is that pain is no longer given the authority to command. In the past, one event could spread into every area of your life, causing you to view your work, future, relationships, and even yourself through one dark color. Now you are beginning to place each event within its proper size. You can say, "This has hurt me," without concluding that your entire life has been destroyed. You can acknowledge that one door closed without believing that every road ahead is also locked. You can recognize that one person behaved wrongly without turning it into evidence that no one can be trusted. This ability to distinguish is protecting you from the extremes that once exhausted you. Heaven does not look only at what happened to you. I look at how you chose when no one was beside you to provide direction. The world often notices the moment when you rise. But I saw the hours when you remained seated in a quiet room, where no one knew what you were fighting. I saw you hold your phone, and then put it down, because you did not want to speak words you would later regret. I saw you prepare a sharp response, and then choose silence until your heart became calm enough. I saw you desire to reveal everything publicly, so that others would understand how unjustly you had been treated, yet finally choose to preserve your dignity instead of turning the wound into a performance. Those decisions made no noise, received no applause, and were acknowledged by no visible reward. Yet they are precisely what reveal that genuine strength has begun taking root within you. There was a particular moment whose exact day and hour you may no longer remember, but I still remember it. Someone or something touched a very deep place and made you feel that all the kindness you had given had been disregarded. You possessed enough reason to become cold, enough reason to say that from that day forward you would no longer trust, give, or allow anyone to come near. You could have worn pain as armor and called hardness wisdom. But at the moment when bitterness appeared to be the easier choice, you decided not to allow another person's wrongdoing to determine who you would become. You did not deny what they had done or pretend that it did not hurt. You simply refused to give them the authority to transform you into a version of yourself that was foreign to the integrity I had placed within you. That choice demanded a price. Preserving an upright heart does not always bring immediate relief. At times you had to leave without vindication, end a connection, while many things remained unsaid, or accept that the person who wounded you might never fully understand the consequences of their actions. You desired an apology, an acknowledgement, or at least one moment when they returned and said that you had not imagined what happened. But that answer never came, and you had to learn how to recover without placing your peace in another person's hands. This was not failure. It was the moment when you reclaimed the governance of your own life. When you stopped waiting for the one who caused the wound to repair what was within you, you began stepping out of the bondage they had created, whether intentionally or unintentionally. I saw how you transformed pain into instruction rather than a sentence. You began recognizing signs you previously ignored. understanding why certain boundaries needed to be established, and learning not to offer trust more quickly than another person's character had been proven. You no longer believe that forgiveness requires you to reopen every door. You understand that bitterness can be released while distance remains, and that you can desire another person's healing without continuing to walk beside them. Living rightly does not mean permitting yourself to be repeatedly wounded. Kindness needs clear eyes, and love requires a strong enough fence that it cannot be turned into an instrument by people unwilling to accept responsibility. The way you adapted proved that you no longer live merely to survive each storm. You have begun learning from them. A failed plan no longer represents only lost time. It helps you recognize what must be corrected. A changing relationship does not leave only loss. It also exposes the places where you remained silent for too long, gave too much, or sacrificed what should never have been surrendered. Words spoken behind your back no longer possess enough strength to make you run everywhere defending yourself. They teach you that lasting character speaks more clearly than temporary arguments. You have begun understanding that not everything that collapses is destruction. Certain structures must fall, so that you no longer remain inside a place too narrow for your new growth. Yet do not turn endurance into a reason to remain in places that continually deplete you. I do not want you to believe that, because you recover more quickly, you must accept more pain. Your ability to rise is not an invitation for others to continue pushing you down. Maturity is not measured by the number of times you silently endured disrespect. Sometimes the right response is to speak clearly, leave, report wrongdoing, or request justice. You can do these things without nurturing hatred. Peace does not weaken you. It enables you to act without allowing anger to obscure the truth. I know there are still days when former memories return and cause you to wonder whether you have genuinely progressed or are only temporarily strong. Remember that recovery does not move in a straight line. There are moments when you feel free, followed by a word or familiar scene that awakens sadness again. This does not erase every step you have taken. The difference is that you now understand what is happening, know how to care for yourself, and know that the emotion will eventually pass. You no longer panic before one difficult day or regard a moment of weakness as proof that you have returned to the beginning. You are learning to treat yourself gently while remaining responsible for your choices. Therefore, my beloved child, look back upon the journey with gratitude rather than pride. You did not overcome because you were never wounded. You overcame because the wound could not steal your beautiful nature. You were not strong because you always knew what to do. You were strong because even when confused, you still chose not to act in a way that separated you from truth. You did not rise to prove yourself superior to anyone, but because something deep within you knew that your story could not end in the place where another person hurt you. I witnessed those hidden choices, and they are opening a new road. Continue walking with tenderness and boundaries, forgiveness without blindness, and faith without surrendering discernment. What once broke you is becoming a place through which light can pass, and you are gradually becoming someone no longer defined by circumstances, but recognized by the way you rise in peace, dignity, and a kindness that cannot be taken away.